Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Priyansh Agarwal. In this video, I am going to tell you how you can get started with competitive programming. And before I tell you a complete roadmap to get started with CP, it is important for you to know why am I credible enough to talk about this topic. So I am an incoming ICPC world finalist. ICPC is like the Olympics of competitive programming. Apart from this, I got an India rank of 1 and a global rank of 6 in Google Kickstart. Apart from this, I am also a master on Codeforces, which is equivalent to being among the top 0.1% competitive programmers in India. Overall, I have been practicing and teaching competitive programming for almost 3.5 years now, right? And I also run a startup around competitive programming itself, which is called TLeliminators. So what exactly is competitive programming, first of all? It is a mind sport. In this mind sport, you are given coding problems, you are given some abstract puzzles or abstract problem statements. You need to come up with an algorithmic or a logical solution to these problems, and you need to write code for that. You just don't solve standalone problems. You actually end up attempting contests, right? So in a particular contest, there are certain problems that are given to you. Now the person who solves the most number of problems, that person is ranked the highest. If there are 5 people who solve the same number of problems in a contest, then the person who solves them fastest is ranked the highest, right? Now for every single platform like Codeforces, CodeChef, all of these, you will have a rating that will be assigned to you, right? For example, my rating on Codeforces is 2188. If I perform well in a contest, that rating is going to go up. If I perform worse in a contest, that rating is going to come down. So my skill level in competitive programming can be also judged by that rating that I have on any given platform. So that is how this whole entire field is competitive. Now the question is that why should you do CP, right? Overall, most of the competitive programmers, if you ask them, what is it that keeps you going at competitive programming? It is the dopamine boost, okay? Every single problem that you solve gives you a level of satisfaction, and that satisfaction level only increases as you solve more and more problems. Secondly, why you should do CP is that CP helps you improve your problem solving skills. Now, another big reason why people do CP is that it helps you develop a very good resume. Like I mentioned, you have a rating on every single coding platform. Apart from this, all of these contests that keep happening, like Google Kickstart, ICPC, Facebook Hacker Cup, all of these contests, whenever you get a good rank, you can put it in your resume. And that clearly shows the interviewer that, okay, you are a very good problem solver. Another reason why people do CP is that, it gives you a huge edge above your peers in online coding tests. So whenever you look at these tech companies that are hiring, like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Uber, all of these companies, so what they do is that they have two parts in their hiring process. One is the coding test, the second is the interview, right? In the coding test, their main aim is to reject as many people as possible. So they make the coding test very, very difficult. So what ends up happening is that people who are good in competitive programming, they also end up performing very, very well in these online coding tests. And finally, the main reason is that it is actually very fun, okay? Once you start doing it, after 3-4 months, you kind of get addicted to it. You get addicted to solving problems every single day, right? So now let's talk about what are the prerequisites that you need to have before you can actually get started with competitive programming. The very first prerequisite is that you should be familiar with one programming language. It doesn't matter which programming language you essentially choose. I just feel that if you're comfortable with any one of the programming languages, you could continue with that. But if you're somebody who hasn't started learning programming at the moment, I would suggest go for C++. It is firstly because most of the competitive programmers are doing CP in C++. So the chances of you finding help whenever you're stuck is the highest when you're doing it in C++, correct? Secondly, C++ is much faster than other languages when it comes to runtime. So essentially, when you look at competitive programming, every single problem has a time limit. So the faster your code runs, the better it is for you, correct? So it might happen that, okay, sometimes a C++ solution is getting accepted, but the same Java solution or maybe the same Python solution is getting a time limit exceeded error. The second prerequisite is basic mathematics. All that you require is simple high school level of mathematics, not more than that. Just if you know that, okay, how does permutation combinations work? How do you, evaluate probability? How do you look at multiples, factors, primes, GCDs, LCMs? All of these things are very, very basic. And if you know just this much, you are absolutely in a fine position to start competitive programming. The third thing that you need before you can start competitive programming is to learn about online judges. What are online judges? Whenever you write a code, okay, you will be submitting this code on some website, and this website is going to evaluate whether your code is correct or not, right? So all of these platforms like CodeChef, Codeforces, AdCoder, these are online judges, and these are competitive programming platforms. So before you can get started with CP, you must understand how these online judges work. What are the various verdicts that you can get for every single submission? Like maybe your submission is accepted, maybe your submission is rejected due to it being wrong, or let's suppose it taking a lot of time to run, right? So once you understand all of these things, that is the point where you should start CP. Before that, if you go and start solving problems, it would be very, very demotivating for you. Lastly, I just want to talk about this one thing, that you don't need data structures algorithms to actually get started with competitive programming, because whenever you start with CP, the first initial set of problems, those easy problems, they're not going to be based on very heavy algorithms, very heavy data structures. Okay, they're going to be based on simple maths, simple logic. So you should learn data structures algorithms on the go. Whenever you encounter a problem which requires an algorithm, you don't know about it, so learn about it and then solve it, right? When you learn in this fashion, you also tend to retain a lot. Okay, now that you know what are the prerequisites to get started with CP, let's actually talk about how do you get started. So what you need to do is that you need to first of all start solving problems. There are a huge number of problems on Codeforces, CodeChef, all of these platforms. How do we choose the right set of problems? So as a beginner, what you should do is that you should start by solving the easiest problems. Now, if you talk about Codeforces, the easiest problems are rated 800. As you increase the rating of the problem, the difficulty of the problem also increases, right? So you should start by choosing 800 level problems on Codeforces. Once you get comfortable in 800 rating, move to 900. Once you become comfortable in 900, move to 1000, right? But as an intermediate level coder or as a master on Codeforces, where do you start? For this, what you can do is you can follow this rule that, okay, whichever problem you're solving, the absolute difference between your rating and the problem's rating should be within 200. Okay, what I mean by that is that if my rating is 2100, I would solve problems from 1900 rating to 2300 rating. 1900 and 2000 rating problems might be easier for me because my rating is already higher than them, right? But 2200 and 2300 level problems will be difficult for me. Finally, I also get this question a lot from students that as competitive programmers, should we be choosing topic-wise problems or should we be choosing random problems to solve? Now for this situation, I would just say that if you already know which topics you are weak in, then go for topic-wise problem solving. Otherwise, you can go for random problem solving, okay? Alright, so now let's talk about how do you get started with attempting contests. So as a beginner, you should target those contests which are beginner friendly, okay? So if I were to name a few beginner friendly contests, firstly, there are CodeChef starters happening every single Wednesday. Then there is Codeforces Division 3 and in fact Division 4 also now. Codeforces has recently introduced this Division 4 concept, where the problems are even easier than Division 3 contests, okay? So these Division 3 and Division 4 contests on Codeforces are some of the most beginner-friendly contests out there. Secondly, you could also go for AdCoder beginner contests, which are again very, very beginner-friendly. And apart from that, you could also go for LeetCode weekly and bi-weekly contests. Another thing that I would suggest you all to do is to try out ICPC, okay? This is like the Olympics of competitive programming competitions. And this is a competition that happens every single year, but you can only participate in it when you're a college student, okay? So I would say just make the most out of this opportunity. There is no prerequisite as such. You just need to be a normal competitive programmer. You need to have a team of 3 people from the same college, and that's all, okay? So highly, highly recommend you to go for ICPC. Now there are some tips that I have for you for contests. Firstly is to, attempt a complete contest, never quit the contest in between. Generally, competitive programming contests are about 2 to 3 hours. So what people do is that they attempt a contest for an hour, and then when they feel that, okay, they are not able to solve more problems, they just quit, okay? Let me tell you that if you want to get the most out of a contest, you will have to attempt it completely, because at the end of the day, the more problems you solve in a contest, the better rank you get, right? Secondly, don't be, obsessed with problems. If you're stuck on a problem, it is always a better choice to, read at least the next few problems and think whether you can solve them. Additionally, don't be obsessed with the ratings, okay? The ratings that you are obsessed with right now, they're not going to matter in the long run. For example, in my case, the very first 10 contests that I attempted on Codeforces, they were just terrible. But now when I look at it in the longer run, like after attempting almost 300 contests on Codeforces, that first initial set of 10 contests, they don't matter to me at all now. Even if you look at my rating graph on Codeforces, you will see that that small section of 10 contests, it doesn't matter anymore, right? Another tip that I have for all of you is to take breaks between the contests. Sometimes it happens that you're stuck on a particular approach, which is the wrong approach for a problem, and we are not able to think of the right approach just because our mind is just fixated to that one approach, right? So just get up from your desk, maybe grab some chocolate, have some snacks, come back after 5-10 minutes, okay? If you do something like this, you just entirely reset your mind and you start thinking about all other approaches for that same problem. And most importantly, make sure that you upsolve a contest. What is the meaning of upsolving? Let's suppose you participated in a contest and you were able to solve 2 problems. For the problems which you couldn't solve during the contest, you know that, okay, these are tough problems. You don't have the right skills, or maybe your mind was not thinking properly during the contest to solve these problems, right? After the contest is over, when you look at the editorial for these problems, you will realize that, okay, there are certain concepts that you don't know, or let's suppose there are certain, directions into which you never thought, right? So when you attempt the next contest, your mind or you yourself will be much more equipped. Now, in case you're somebody who struggles in solving contests, don't worry, on TLeliminators' YouTube channel, after every Codeforces contest, we post our video solutions. I do have some more bonus tips for all of you, but before that, let me tell you about TLeliminators. So this is a startup that I have been running around competitive programming. We provide competitive programming training to students. We've taught more than 4,700 programmers till date. First of all, we've divided this entire competitive programming training into 4 levels. Level 1 is for absolute beginners who don't know any programming language. So we start with basics of C++. We tell them how online judges work. We tell them about time and space complexity, all of these things, right? Level 2 is for people who know at least one programming language and who've tried a bit of competitive programming. Similarly, when you go for level 3, we teach them even more advanced stuff like binary searching on answer, interactive problems, advanced number theory, right? All of these things. And as you go for level 4, this is the place where we expect a lot from you. Like we do expect that you are in a position where you can solve at least 3 problems in every single Codeforces round. So in this level, we teach you some very high advanced level concepts like dynamic programming, graphs, trees, range queries, right? So essentially every single level is a 12 weeks long program. Every week we have around 1 to 2 theory classes. Now let's say I've taken a class on Sunday on dynamic programming. Now from Monday to Friday, I will be giving you daily practice problems on dynamic programming based on the topics that I've already taught you. If you're stuck on any problem from or outside the course, we have instant doubt support available. The doubt support is handled by some of the highest rated coders in India. These are people who are experts, candidate masters on Codeforces. So if you are somebody whose rating is 1200 or 1300, you will be guided by somebody whose rating is 1700 or 1800 on Codeforces, right? Now we also believe that even after doubt support, sometimes we are not able to solve the problem completely. Like sometimes we just need the entire solution to the problem, right? So for this, we provide video solutions for every single practice problem that we give you, right? Finally, we also have certain other features like profile review sessions. For example, after every 1.5 month, we will look at your Codeforces profile and we will actually analyze it in a lot of depth and will tell you where exactly are you not doing things correctly? What are the things that you're doing correctly, right? So this way, you don't just get to learn topics and solve problems. You also get a lot of mentorship. Fine, apart from this, if you're attempting contests on Codeforces CodeChef, we also provide live post-contest discussion, right? So these are all the features at TLeliminators. We give a lot of emphasis on making sure that the quality is the best, right? While also ensuring that the price is as minimal as possible. Now, in case you don't believe me on the quality aspect, you could look at all the testimonials that are available on our website, and not just on our website. You can go on Twitter, you can go on LinkedIn and just search for TLeliminators and you would find so many positive reviews. So our next batch will be around the corner. You could check it out. So with that said, let me also tell you about some best practices that you could use in your competitive programming journey to have a more fruitful journey and to, reach your goals much faster. Right? So the very first thing is to, be a part of some community. Like I understand that competitive programming as a skill is not very rewarding, right? Every single contest you don't perform at the top of your skills, right? Sometimes you have bad contests, sometimes you have good contests. So being a part of a community keeps you motivated. It also keeps you aware. For example, you might not know that there is a contest coming up, but somebody in the community might say that, okay, I am interested in this contest, and you might get to know. Similarly, if you are not attempting a contest and if you find so many other people in the same community discussing about that contest, next time you would want to attempt it, right? So in case you're interested in becoming a part of some competitive programming community, we have our own free TLE community on Discord. I would drop the link of that in the description and you could just check it out. Right, the next thing that I want to tell you is that, the growth that happens in competitive programming, it only happens when you come outside your comfort zone. When you solve those difficult problems, when you upsolve those contest problems that you could not solve during the contest. So if you're solving problems which are easy for you, it is a clear indication that you need to increase your level. If you're not being able to solve more problems in a contest, it is a clear indication that either you don't know some topic or you're not upsolving enough, right? So always try to make sure that you come outside your comfort zone. Third tip that I have for all of you is to be consistent. CP is not just competitive programming, it is also consistent programming, okay? The more consistent you are at solving problems every single day, attempting every single contest, the better you will be as a competitive programmer. It doesn't matter how many problems you're solving in a day. As long as you're showing up every single day, even if you're solving one problem every single day, you're going to become consistent, and slowly, this number of problems that you're solving is going to increase. But if you, think about solving 200 problems, in just a week and then skipping CP for a month, you will not be coming back to that same position where you left, okay? So the final tip that I have for all of you is that don't always compete and don't always compare, okay? This is a very, very underrated thing. We always feel that, okay, competitive programming is all about being better than others, right? Yes, it is about being better than others in a contest. But when you're outside a contest, it is more about collaboration than competition. Make sure that, okay, if your friends are having doubts, if your friend needs help outside a contest, you go out of your way to help them. Okay, when you do something like this, others in the community will also be encouraged to help you, right? So that was it for this video, guys. I hope you found this insightful and you're now in a position where you can get started with competitive programming. You can start solving problems and you can start attempting contests. Okay, thank you for watching and I would see you in the next video.